Hello and welcome to Sunday Sabong number 1. Kanina pong tikia, ha?
Nag-stream ka?
Nag-stream ng tagsugod. So,
Sa YouTube?
yes, we are
Sure?
mo stream sa taon say mo stream na to kay napatay lakaw niya. Sige, hi guys. Hello Blueberry. Mo spectate tag match for round 2. I am thinking of spectating kaning match ni Ash ug ni Gio. So, sige, kani daw. We'll be coming in musuta in the middle of their match. So, di na ako i-record, but I will be recording the rest of the matches. So, here we go. Uy, so si Ash nag-Mega Aggron siya. Okay, Ash will be using the Mega Aggron and Raichu team, and Gio will be using this. They're very similar team setups actually. Quite interesting. Sige, give me a sec nasa ko i-check rin. Enjoy lang sa mo sa match. Okay, where were we? Okay, fresh turn. So we do see Ash here, play a wrist on the blue side, and Gio on the red with the Whimsicott and Serral Edge. Both Serral Edge are now out for both players, but the big thing here is this Sneasler will be able to take out this Whimsicott anytime it wants, but so will this Serral Edge into that Whimsicott. The real question is, who is going to do what? So Ash will be protecting his own Serral Edge here, but Gio, seeing the opportunity that maybe his Whimsicott might be going down, goes for a Tailwind just to double up that speed while trying to poke through that Shadow Sneak will be going into the Serral Edge, but it is protected. Interestingly though, I believe Ash probably thought that Gio was going to switch out his Whimsicott here, but no, he goes for a close combat, probably also to activate the white herb. I believe it is a white herb. Sorry, I need to double check. I get the mental herb and the white herb confused quite regularly. I know I shouldn't as a caster and player, but it does happen from time to time. Anyway, Ash will be pulling out his Serral Edge and he will be sending out his Mega Aggron. Gio, not wanting to let this Whimsicott go down, give Ash a little more trouble, will be protecting his Whimsicott, and it will eat up a Dire Claw into that protect. But Poltergeist fails into the Sneasler. Clearly, Poltergeist is a move that only works if you have an item. And this Sneasler has already used up its item. So, it has activated Unburden, but it's also no longer susceptible to the Poltergeist. Good thinking by Ash to use up the item before anything. Sorry, I'm going through their team sheets, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, seeing that this Sneasler with a white herb, Ash will be using Dire Claw into the Serral Edge, does a very respectable amount of damage, but that's not what really matters here. What matters are those secondary effects. Covert Cloak is not in this game, and it will be putting that Serral Edge to sleep. Unresisted, Moonblast goes into Sneasler and drops his special attack, not that it really mattered all too much, and it takes away about 48%. Aggron, though, will be taking this Whimsicott and saying, I think you should take a nap back in your Pokeball. Sends it back to Gio almost immediately with that Heavy Slam. Gio having no choice. His final two Pokemon will be this Raichu and his Serral Edge, which is taking a bit of a nap. But he does have Tailwind up. He will be moving significantly faster. Cereal Edge, probably the only condition to take out this Aggron, will have to wake up. Sneasler, on the other hand, will probably not want this Cereal Edge to do anything anyway. But yeah, he will be going for the Dire Claw into the Cereal Edge. Doesn't get the KO, but Cereal Edge may remain asleep. Zap Cannon goes into Sneasler, taking it out completely out of the game and back into its Pokeball. Yeah, Cereal Edge unfortunately will be staying asleep. Aggron will be using Body Press to take out the Raichu. Mega Raichu Y is no longer in the game. This Cereal Edge needs to wake up. Tailwind has petered out. Geo has his chances of winning here are getting slimmer and slimmer. But that is a Sinistcha. Both of the Pokemon remaining on Ash's field are weak to fire, but we have to remember that Ash still has his Cereal Edge in the back. It does have Flash Fire, and it is with a sassy nature. So that's not going to be very helpful against this Cereal Edge on Geo's side, but he will be able to heal himself if he manages to wake up and get that Bitter Blade. And he does finally wake up. Bitter Blade will be going into the Sinistcha, taking it out and healing this significant amount of damage. If the Sinistcha is maximum HP, it should heal up Cereal Edge almost to full. This Aggron, though, will not be able to do much into the Cereal Edge. Going for Iron Defense, trying just to survive. Even with a 30%, Aggron is considered the wall. And what a wall it is. Bitter Blade can no longer go into the Cereal Edge on Ash's side because Ash's Cereal Edge does have Flash Fire, and all Flash Fire essentially nullifies all fire damage coming in. But yeah, Ash isn't falling for it, neither is Geo, so Ash will go for a Shadow Sneak into Geo's Cereal Edge, leaving it with such little HP remaining. And yeah, Ash's Cereal Edge is about to get destroyed by its own Life Orb. And the remaining Pokemon here will be the Cereal Edge on Ash's side and this Aggron. The question is, will this Aggron have enough? No, actually, the Life Orb recoil manages to take out the Cereal Edge there on Geo's side. A bit of a... well, that was quite unfortunate. But yes, due to that recoil damage, Ash will be taking Game 1. I believe it's Game 1. I'll have to double check. Okay, so they are now going into Game 2. Let's get ready. There was a bit of a issue I had to resolve there. So, Game 2 for Ash and Geo. Remember to report your wins and losses, guys. So we do know these teams. Give me a minute, folks. As soon as the game begins, I'll begin casting once more. Time is running out for both of these players. Last second. 1 second remaining and they are now up. Okay. Game 2 of this round for these two players. Geo will be leading with that Chirina now. I'm not sure what the leads were in the previous game. Remember, we showed up mid-game, but Chirina was not in that match. However, Ash is leading with Aggron and Sneasler. I believe this Aggron will be Mega Evolving here. He has absolutely no reason not to. That Rock typing isn't going to do Aggron any help here. So the Chirina, well, if it goes for a Drop Kick into the Aggron, it's gonna be neutral damage, but if the Aggron Mega Evolves, it becomes a pure Steel type, so it will be resisting anything this Chirina shows up with. Let me double check the sheets there. Chirina, yeah, sure, everything will be resisted completely. It does have Play Rough and U-Turn. It will do nothing into this Mega Aggron, and Ash will be Mega Evolving it. The Whimsicott on Geo's side will be protecting himself, probably trying to avoid any possible Dire Claws. But yeah, he's just pivoting out. The Chirina, not wanting to take any more of this smoke, will be using U-Turn, returning to its trainer, and in its place, Geo is gonna send out his Metagross. So, if this Metagross were to take in the Dire Claw from the Sneasler, it probably will just bounce off. But Aggron will be using Heavy Slam. Ash double targets into the Whimsicott. Dire Claw and the Heavy Slam will do nothing into the Whimsicott because it is completely protected. But it only has a 33% chance of protecting this turn. And tit for tat, Geo is Mega Evolving his Mega Metagross. Psychic damage will do ×4 extremely effective damage into that Sneasler. And Whimsicott here with the Tailwind will be supporting his team. Probably the last thing he's going to be able to do. Psychic Fang goes into the Sneasler, takes it out completely. Goodbye, Sneasler. We hardly knew you. Extremely effective damage, ×4. Aggron will be going for the Heavy Slam into the Whimsicott, reducing it down into its Focus Sash. This Whimsicott still has 1 HP, but 1 is a lot more than 0. The difference between a KO and still going, yeah, he didn't ring no bell. The 1 HP was all it took. And Ash will be bringing in his Sinistra in place of that down Sneasler. Geo with a fantastic turn 2 here, managing to keep it up. He does still have the Tailwind. The Whimsicott on his side, though, does have Protect and Moonblast. The question is, does he really want to attack here? No. He decides, okay, I think I want to preserve my Whimsicott for later. Pulls it back in and sends out the Chirina. Iron Head coming from the Metagross into Sinistra, forcing this Sinistra to eat its Citrus Berry. Heavy Slam, however, will be used into the Chirina. Yeah, the wall is heavy, but manages to survive. But a very, very difficult flinch there into the Sinistra. They probably wanted to use Matcha Gotcha at least, do some damage into the Metagross to try for that burn. But unfortunately, Sinistra is unable to move. Iron Head does have a % chance to flinch here. Some RNG shenanigans, but the truly best players won't rely on it completely. So Aggron still has a chance to take things back. This Metagross is doing some Metagrossy things. Triple Axle goes into the Sinistra. Will it be enough? It is not. This Sinistra is bulky. Unfortunately, I keep saying that, it's just not able to do much. Stomping Tantrum will be going into the Aggron, taking about 26%. Aggron, seeing the opposition here, goes, I see what you're doing. All you have are moves that don't really do all that much damage to me. They're all physical. So Aggron goes for an Iron Defense while his partner Sinistra here, the failed KO did too much. Tailwind is up on Geo's side, but the entire field is now affected by Trick Room. That Tailwind is no longer in Geo's favor. The dimensions have now switched. They've swapped, and Geo's not going to be able to move as quickly as he could. He will be pulling out Chirina and sending in Serral Edge in its place. So now we know Geo's entire roster. Metagross, however, will be protecting on this on this second turn of Trick Room. Aggron will be using Body Press into Metagross, but it is protected. Seeing that there's a chance here that this Sinistra is going to be able to do whatever it wants, decides to use Life Dew and heals out both the Aggron and drinks a little bit of life for itself. Metagross and Serral Edge. Serral Edge does highly threaten both Sinistra and Aggron. As we saw in the previous game, Sinistra did get one hit KO'd by that bitter bitter blade, but Ash understood that if the bitter blade goes in, you're just gonna power me up here. So he switches his Sinistra for the for his own Cyril Edge, while Geo, understanding the assignment here, switches his own Metagross into his Serena. A fantastic pivot, but he will be taking some Life Orb damage after using Shadow Sneak on the newly come in Cyril Edge. Aggron, though, becoming the wall that it truly is just constantly using Iron Defense. This Aggron appears to now be at +4 defense. It now has ×3 of its regular defense. This should be somewhere around the 600, 700 raw number mark, but yeah. This Aggron is gonna be very, very, very difficult to KO. And yeah, Geo pivoting in and out here. He'll be pulling his Serena out, and in his plates will be his other grass type on the team, his Whimsicott. Ash wanted to scout out what exactly is gonna happen, not wanting to get hit by another Shadow Sneak, will be protecting himself. Shadow Sneak will be slamming into that protect. Aggron, though, seeing the chance, uses Heavy Slam into the Serena slot, which is now a Whimsicott. Whimsicott just entered the field, saw that Aggron was coming in, and said, okay, I guess this is my purpose now. Metagross will be coming in from Geo's side. This is the last turn of Trick Room, successfully stalling it out to a degree. Geo, not having a chance to use his Cyril Edge properly here, will have to use that Shadow Sneak once more. On the other hand, Ash's own Cyril Edge will probably also have to use Shadow Sneak into the opposing. But yes, Ash's Cyril Edge is a little bit faster, I think, than Geo's. Not sure if that was a speed tie, but I believe Geo will also be using, yes, he will be using Shadow Sneak into that Cyril Edge as well, while he will be taking recoil damage. It is enough to finally take out the Cyril Edge on Ash's side, forcing Ash to play with nothing but his Sinistra and this Aggron. Heavy Slam will be coming into the Cyril Edge, and I'm a little tongue-tied, but Geo will now have no damage into this Aggron. So now it's going to be a heck of a slugfest between the Aggron and the Sinistra and the Metagross and the Serena. So a grass type on both sides. Aggron healed completely to full. Sinistra a little weaker at 28%. But the main difference here is that Metagross might not be able to crack through this Aggron. So yeah, this may be it. I'm not sure. He's gonna have to fish for a critical. Triple Axel will be going to the Sinistra, taking it out. But again, not much can be done into this Aggron here. So yeah, we saw it right there. The very, very low damage going into the Aggron. This Aggron, though, 89% HP here, with Metagross only move being that high horsepower, but it's looking really dicey. Stomping Tantrum rather, not high horsepower, but Stomping Tantrum will once again go into the Aggron. And Aggron, seeing as there is no reason for me not to body press here, takes 90% away from that Metagross. Unresisted, despite being a Psychic type, it is still a Steel type. It will be slamming straight into that Metagross with that heavy with a body press, supremely boosted by all those Iron defenses. The wall will be showing this Metagross who the superior Steel type is in this scenario, and body press will be enough to take out Mega Metagross. The winner of Game 2 and the set is Ash. Okay. Okay, so Ash appears to have won both of those games. I think it should be time for round 3. We're progressing quite smoothly. Oh, there was a buy. Geo has won his game via buy. That's fine. Let's... Oh, this is a match I think I'd wanna watch as well. So we will be spectating Marv and Vince. Snivs. Okay. Nanapod ni siya. Newbie lang daw. Newbie lang daw po.
Okay, people. No, people.
Yeah, okay po. We're progressing quite smoothly. Okay.
You eat something?
Okay, here we are with round 3 of our very first Sunday Sabong.
Let's go Sunday Sabong.
Let's go Sunday Sabong. So, Snivs here with his one of his more classic teams. His Charizardite Y on this Charizard. This is Mega Charizard Y along with Mega Metagross here. And he is bringing Hisuian Samurott. While on the other hand, Marv, one of the first timers, he's bringing Feraligatr into this game. And he's doing pretty okay, I think. Pelipper and Mega Feraligatr on this team is a force to be reckoned with. But yeah, let's see how far this goes. This is more of a Regulation M-A kind of team. But this Gengar does have Life Orb. And yeah, as usual, because Snivs is bringing this Garchomp. It also has Life Orb, but his Sylveon doesn't have the Life Orb. It has Fairy Feather. Yeah, so Marv will be leading with Gengar and Pelipper here, while Snivs, the usual tried and true combo. Everything is flying except for this Gengar, no longer having access to Levitate. It has Cursed Body and no Mega Stone, but it does have Life Orb. It's speedy. Gengar is speedy, but yeah, Aerodactyl here and this Mega Charizard Y. Charizard will be able to change the weather if it chooses to Mega Evolve on this turn. And on the other hand, Pelipper will have access to the Tailwind and Wide Guard. If Snivs chooses to use Heat Wave into this opposing team on Marv's side, Pelipper might be able to change that with a Wide Guard, allowing this Gengar to do something. At the same time, both of these support Pokemon, the Aerodactyl and the Pelipper, do have a chance to just use Tailwind and support their partners. Snivs will be choosing to Mega Evolve his Charizard here into that Mega Charizard Y, and he'll be taking that rain away and shining in a sunny day with Drought. His Aerodactyl though will be using Rock Slide, doing pretty good amount of damage into that side, but Icy Wind coming from the Gengar, unfortunately missing this Aerodactyl, a very key piece. But yeah, we did not see this Pelipper use Wide Guard, so there's a chance it could be using I was gonna say Tailwind, but instead it is a Fire type Weather Ball into the Aerodactyl. A critical hit, taking away at least 40%. Snivs though not falling for the, not wanting to risk the possible Wide Guard, will be using Weather Ball Fire type now into that Gengar, taking it out of the game. Does not KO. Marv is gonna have to think of something here. This Charizard though is a little worse for wear. It's a little slower, but whether it's gonna matter too much or not, it's probably remains to be seen. But we do see Mega Feraligatr, rather this Feraligatr with the capability to Mega with his Mega Stone come in. It is a Jolly Nature, so it's kind of gonna be a little speedy. Of course, it doesn't want to be hit by any Solar Beams coming from the Charizard. Marv is gonna have to think of a way to get the rain back up without getting obliterated by this Charizard. Of course, the Feraligatr can still Dragon Dance and retaliate with a liquidation of its own, but yeah, this Feraligatr is gonna have to do something. I believe it's probably gonna want to protect here if it wants to change anything. Marv has to change the weather. So yeah, this Feraligatr does protect. It Mega Evolves and protects at the same time, trying to cover for a Solar Beam. Despite the speed drop though, Aerodactyl will be going for a Tailwind, forcing this Charizard to become much faster. But Marv, making a smart play here, switches out his Pelipper into that Sneasler, making this Charizard hit it on purpose, breaking its Focus Sash and causing Unburden to finally play out. Fake out pressure coming from Marv's side of the field. I suppose this Charizard probably doesn't want to do too much. At the same time, probably wants to commit to the damage. Marv's gonna have to think of something here. This Sneasler, it's gonna be the fastest thing here, even with the Unburden. So, oh no, he will be pulling out the Sneasler and sending Pelipper back out. Yeah, so Solar Beam will no longer have a quick turn, but yeah, Snivs, being the champion that he is, pulls out his own Charizard, anticipating any possible moves. Aerodactyl will be using Aerodactyl will be using Rock Slide, but it misses the Pelipper. Such a key target. The flinch on the Feraligatr though, difficult, but yeah. That Feraligatr could have Dragon Dance there, or it could have gone straight for some damage. Garchomp, however, gonna be really fast in this Tailwind, is threatening the Feraligatr significantly now that it has become a Dragon type. Pelipper though, Pelipper's gonna do some very Pelipper things, I suppose. Pelipper goes for a Wide Guard here, not wanting to get hit by any more Rock Slides, and also not wanting to get hit by any possible Earthquakes. But the real question is, what is this Garchomp going for? will also be using... No, it will be going for a Dragon Claw. Life Orb boosted into that for Alligator. Unfortunately for Alligator with a flinch last turn, was not able to make use of any of its moves. Life Orb Recoil goes into the Garchomp, 10% for its troubles, but a trade for some damage towards a KO into a Mega Pokemon, forcing the Sneasler out. Yeah, this is gonna be tight. Sneasler unfortunately cannot fake out into the Garchomp unless it wants to KO itself. Tailwind is still up on Sniv's side of the field though, so it's gonna be difficult to say the least. So yeah, Pelipper here, probably the last bastion on Marv's side, will have... This is a 2v4 with two Pokemon who are on the back foot and very low. But yeah, a single Rock Slide from that Aerodactyl will be enough to take out both Sneasler and Pelipper, awarding Snivs the very first game of this set. Okay, it's time for game number 2. Last time we saw Marv lead with that Gengar who wasn't able to do all too much. Gengar and Pelipper, an interesting lead, but I wasn't sure what he was trying to do there. Sniv's going for a very classic lead of that Aerodactyl and Charizard. If the Pelipper came in early, he could always change the weather. So Marv's gonna have to think of several possible adjustments here. On the other hand, Snivs didn't lose a single thing last game, so whether he wants to change it up or not, that remains to be seen. But let's find out, actually. Maybe he's gonna anticipate an anticipated change, but I'm really curious to see if he's going to be using this Hisuian Samurott here. Now, I am getting confirmation from Marv here that he is reconnecting. Hopefully he'll be back in time for the match. And he does. 6 seconds on the clock. Both players are ready. So Marv will be leading with his own Garchomp and Pelipper. Bit of a adjustment here. So let's take a quick preview at this Garchomp, the newly added thing on the field. It has a Choice Scarf with Rock Slide, Earthquake, and Dragon Claw. It also has Poison Jab. It is an adamant natured Garchomp, so it's probably not going to be the fastest thing, but with that Choice Scarf, it is going to be guaranteed to be speedy. Snivs here will be protecting his own Charizard, and yeah, like we called, this Charizard is going straight for the Rock Slide, but it misses the Aerodactyl. A very, very bad miss on the turn 1. But yeah, both the Aerodactyl and the Pelipper here going for Tailwind. Both players going, I think this is going to come down to the speed. So this Garchomp is still uncontested. It's going to still be the fastest thing on the field. That Choice Scarf is just pushing it a little over the edge. At the same time, this Pelipper is going to be able to use Wide Guard against this entire team. I don't think Snivs is going to want to keep his Charizard in any further. Well, he could always change the weather, but he used Protect last turn. He's going to have to do something here. It's a little slower, but will he be able to survive this Rock Slide coming from the Garchomp? It is Choice Scarf, but it is adamant. Hopefully, it's been calced to survive it. The sun will be coming, replacing that rain. And yeah, this Aerodactyl, seeing that the Garchomp is finally stuck on just the rock slide because of the Choice Scarf, Sniffles makes a very intelligent decision here to go for Wide Guard, forcing this Garchomp to do literally nothing. And yeah, this Charizard will be going for a Solar Beam straight into probably the Garchomp. No, it is hitting the Pelipper. There can only be one real weather setter on this team, and it's going to be me, apparently. This Pelipper not having much to do. It has Weather Ball, Hurricane, Tailwind, and Wide Guard. It can't really protect itself, but at the same time, it also cannot use Hurricane. Weather Ball will be fully resisted by both the Charizard and the Aerodactyl, forcing Marv here to switch it out for the Feraligatr. But this is gonna be really dicey. If Charizard here, Mega Charizard Y goes for another Solar Beam into the Pelipper slot, the one who's gonna have to eat that is gonna be this Feraligatr. And yeah, it is now a Weather Ball. And Weather Ball just doesn't net any KO onto the Feraligatr. Does a very respectable amount of damage. The last turn of Trick Room for both teams, but this Aerodactyl can just go all day. It's gonna be able to just keep spamming these Wide Guards, and Garchomp on Marv's side of the field is just not gonna be able to get any moves through. If anything, they're gonna have to switch something in. Sniffs is gonna have to switch out his Charizard to retain the weather, but Marv is gonna have to switch in his Pelipper to retain the weather. But will he be replacing the Feraligatr, allowing this Garchomp to... No, okay. So he will be pulling out his Garchomp in order to let Pelipper back in and to change the weather. And yeah, Snivs, as anticipated, will be pulling out his Charizard and sending in the Hisuian Samurott. Feraligatr, realizing, yeah, this is my only opportunity to finally Mega Evolve, just goes for the Mega Evolution. And Aerodactyl, not wanting to risk any Rock Slides coming in from the Garchomp if the Feraligatr would switch out, goes for Wide Guard. Body Slam! The Dragonize Body Slam will be going into the Aerodactyl, and it just manages to survive it. Feraligatr is just not doing enough damage here without... Well, it's powerful, but one of the main reasons Feraligatr is really strong is because it will run an Adamant nature, but it does have access to Dragon Dance, but it is not Dragon Dance boosted right now. It is a Jolly nature. If it were Adamant, however, it would have taken out the Aerodactyl, but Feraligatr is not the speediest Pokemon. It needs to get all the speed that it possibly can. Now, this Pelipper can just set up the Tailwind again, but so can the Aerodactyl. Aerodactyl no longer also has a need to go for a Wide Guard, so it's basically a free chance to just go for the Tailwind here. But yeah, Snivs is gonna go for the Tailwind while Marv replaces his Pelipper for the King Gambit. Ceaseless Edge coming from the Hisuian Samurott, spreading spikes all over Marv's side of the field. Any Pokemon coming in will now be forced to eat up some spikes. Body Slam, well, Dragonize boosted Body Slam goes into Samurott, taking about 70%. Not enough to net the KO. Again, this Feraligatr needs to have a chance to actually go for a Dragon Dance here. We know that Marv did not bring his Sneasler, so there is very low chances of this Feraligatr to get boosted, but King Gambit is here and he is able to just go for a Sucker Punch into either of these Pokemon. But the thing is, Aerodactyl can just switch out and it's going to be free. Samurott resists the King Gambit's punch here, but it is Black Glasses Adamant. And yeah, there will be no Sucker Punch coming from this King Gambit though. Rock Slide successfully going into Marv's side of the field. Critical hit in the King Gambit. Sacred Sword will be knocking out this King Gambit before it's able to do anything. And Feraligatr goes again for a Body Slam into the Samurott, but the main issue is it still doesn't have enough damage. This Charizard's gonna be able to come in here for free, but so will the Pelipper. The real question is, who's gonna come in first? Which weather will prevail? But Snivs will instead be sending out his Garchomp. Both players will be sending in their Garchomps, but we have to remember that, oh, okay, the Tailwind is still up on Sniv's side, so his Garchomp will be that much faster compared to this Feraligatr and this Garchomp on Marv's side of the field. Despite the Choice Scarf, which multiplies your speed by 1.5, it will still not be able to be fast enough to take out this Garchomp on Sniv's side of the field. Tailwind is just that oppressive. Rock Slide coming from the Aerodactyl doesn't do very much damage to the Garchomp, but has that 30% flinch chance. And we will be seeing that Snivs targets down the opposing Garchomp on Marv's side, systematically taking down his team. This Garchomp with the Choice Scarf unfortunately will not be able to take that hit. Dragon Claw knocks it down to its knees and back into its Pokeball. And yeah, Marv will be sending out his Pelipper. He has no more chances to change the weather here. Rain on its last turn. Tailwind on Sniv's side will be on its last turn, but will he be really needing to change the weather or the wind here, the speed? Feraligatr and Pelipper alone can't do very much. Garchomp is just this strong in this format. Sniv's Garchomp can very easily just go for whatever it wants, actually. It can systematically take something down this turn. But yeah, there will be no adjustments for movement here. Aerodactyl will miss the Rock Slide into the Pelipper, and Garchomp will end up hitting the Dragon Claw into the Feraligatr. Feraligatr takes 2 hits, and unfortunately, that is out for the Feraligatr. A little Life Orb damage on the Garchomp, but the Pelipper on Marv's side manages to get the Tailwind up, so he's a little faster, but there is no more rain. The Tailwind on Sniv's side is gone, and the battle has been won. There's virtually nothing this little seagull, or rather this pelican, can do in the face of such difficulty. Snivs will be taking the game and the set. That was interesting. Okay. Okay, so I believe that was the game. Let's see who else is playing. Let's join another game. Okay, I guess we're gonna see Ash again. He's the only one with the remaining game. Yop, one of the world's reps, unfortunately, I think is a little too busy. He did sign up for the tournament, but he has not showed up yet. It is, in fact, a Sunday. Okay, let's see what's going on here. This should be game 2. Okay, so George Paquette here. So George does have a Mega Staraptor which has been KO'd. On the other hand, Ash's side looking pretty good with this Raichu Y mode. Sinistra going for Rage Powder. I mean, Disable coming from... Oh, okay. Wait. Hold. Zap Cannon going into the Delphox, just taking it out completely. But yeah, Rage Powder has higher priority than the Disable. While this Sinistra is no longer able to use the Rage Powder, Raichu is going to still be significantly faster than this Floette. And the thing with Eternal Flower Floette is it really wants to Mega Evolve, but I believe, yeah, the Staraptor on George's side has already taken up the Mega Evolution slot, so this Floette is unable to do anything. It's not going to be able to Mega Evolve, but I'm sure it can still do a decent chunk of damage. Disable will be coming from the Sableye once again, but fails into the Mega Raichu Y. Calm Mind into the Floette, trying to boost it up, trying to gain just a little bit of leverage here. But Sneasler has appeared on Ash's side of the field, replacing the Mega Raichu Y, healing the Sneasler with Life Dew. Aurora Veil coming from Ash's side apparently has worn off. There is nothing defending them anymore. There are no screens except for this Sinistcha who has his move disabled. All statuses of all the Pokemon on the field are left bare. So if George's Floette will be protecting itself here. And Sableye will be going for a Reflect, the last bastion of defense on George's side. Ash, seeing the opportunity, goes for a Dire Claw into the Mega Floette, and a Matcha Gotcha will be bouncing off of that Floette. No damage will be going into it, but this Sableye takes a Matcha Gotcha to its chin, and yeah, while Reflect is still up, it also has the chance to bring up Light Screen once more. So it's a little difficult, but it's not completely unwinnable. So long as this Floette manages to clutch it out and survive anything this Sneasler shows, it should be okay. Disable will be going into the Sneasler. Dire Claw will no longer be available to the Sneasler. And Floette still going for a Calm Mind rather than another hit. This Sneasler is going to have to switch out, but as soon as this Sableye goes down, there's gonna be nothing stopping this Sneasler. And as the luck of the gods would have it, this Sableye manages to avoid the Matcha Gotcha. That is an interesting turn of events here. Sableye avoiding it, manages to avoid getting KO'd. Sneasler, on the other hand, also disabled, cannot use Dire Claw anymore. Ash is gonna have to pull out this Sneasler. But whatever comes in is gonna have to eat the wrath of a +2 Eternal Flower Floette. While it isn't Mega Evolved, it's still gonna do quite a decent amount of damage to whatever comes in. The question is, what does Ash want to sacrifice? Who's he gonna sub in? And it's going to be the Ninetales. Snow will be coming in from the Ninetales here. Snow Warning entering the field. Encore coming from the Sableye, just causing disruptions left and right. And finally, this Floette uses Dazzling Gleam, but it is not Mega Evolved. It does not have the Pharaoh Aura boost. And Matcha Gotcha finally coming in from the Sinistcha will be KOing this Sableye. The Floette, while it managed to get several Calm Minds in, it is going to get burnt, so it will be taking in about 6% of its HP each turn. It needs a little more power. The disable on Sinistcha is gone, but if the Floette chooses to Dazzling Gleam, it's not going to be that much of an issue. Ninetales, I believe, will be the fastest thing on the field right now. It may be able to just go for a KO, but Ash, wanting to play it safe, goes for an Aurora Veil, not wanting this Floette to do anything. He doesn't have to win the game right now, and he realizes it. Draining Kiss coming from the Floette, healing itself. A critical hit into Sinistcha, but remember, this Floette is at +2, and it still failed to knock out the Sinistcha. But from the speed interactions here, we know that the Floette is faster than the Sinistcha, and this Ninetales is faster than the Floette. All this Ninetales has to do is poke it a few times and allow the Sneasler partner in the back to finally take the game. Of course, Ash can also play with the Raichu, but its Blizzard will be coming from Ash's side. It doesn't do too much damage, but I don't think that's the point here. Calm Mind coming from the Floette again, trying to boost it up just a little more. So long as these two defensive Pokemon are on Ash's side, this Floette can just boost itself eternally and keep healing itself with the Draining Kiss. But we have to remember that it is burnt. Sinistcha is... the Reflect has also finally gone for the Floette. This Floette will have to think of a way. George will have to think of a way to bypass this Sneasler. There's no more defensive options against a physical attack. But Blizzard will be coming in. A not very physical attack, mind you, a special attack. But Draining Kiss, coming from the Floette, will be kissing the Sinistra and healing itself for a very substantial amount of HP. Sinistra goes down here, but this Eternal Flower Floette will be taking that burn damage. Ash will be able to come in a little later with anything he wants, but the win condition truly is with that Sneasler. And Ash identifying what he needs to do, sends out the Sneasler. This Floette is gonna have to take out this Sneasler. Ninetales, on the other hand, a single turn of snow left. Maybe also the last turn of the Aurora Veil. Ash playing very carefully. This Floette at +3 also needs to play quite carefully. The Floette going for a protect here, stalling out the final turn of the Aurora Veil and the snow. Dire Claw hits into the Floette, but yeah, there is nothing going through. The snow has stopped, but the burn is still there. A single turn of Aurora Veil still persists. So what? To all those who don't know, Aurora Veil can still keep going even if the snow is gone. Snow is the condition for it to come out, but it's not the condition for it to remain. And despite all of the boosts that this Floette had, Dire Claw will be taking it down. Ash wins the game and the set. Okay, I believe that will be the very last round, the very last game of this match. We will be proceeding with the very next one once more. Round 4. Well, okay, all games will be played today. Yop has managed the bye. Everyone takes at least one game today. Rest well, Yop. We know that you have a lot of trouble with your job, but I mean, being a doctor isn't an easy task, but yeah, we will be spectating. Mimi, who do you want to spectate? Someone. Just choose between table 1 through 5. Okay, we will be no, that's Marv. We just spectated Marv. Let's go for this one. Katana and Pox. So, Mark and George. We are back with the fourth round of the Sunday Sabong. So, who do we have here? George Paquette. George Paquette with the... Sorry. George here, Pax, with the Megastaraptor and the Mega Flowette. We did see him earlier, but the match wasn't recorded. If you were here in the live, he was the preview match that we also had. Not really a feature match, but we did have him. Katana, Mark Ian Abayon here with a very interesting team. He has an Ampharos, a Torkoal, and yeah, he has a Mega Ampharos going into this game. So that's gonna be really interesting to see. I hope that gets brought out. I mean, that is his only Mega Pokemon, but I'm really interested to see how this is gonna go. This looks like a pretty darn hard Trick Room team though. A very unconventional set on the Sneasler, doubling up on the Poison Touch and Poison Jab, seeing as how often Pokemon are just boosting constantly, there has been a bit of a shift. The Poison Jab with the Poison Touch from the Sneasler will almost guarantee that Poison will be coming out. So very few seconds left on the clock, and yeah, we will be seeing the game finally begin. So George here, the giddy old man, Pax, and Mark Katana Abayon leading with the Incineroar and Farigiraf. A very usual combo for everyone who isn't very aware. Incineroar and Farigiraf, or rather, a fake out user along with Farigiraf is almost always just the play if what you want to do is to set up the Trick Room. While this Staraptor is gonna have a chance to just get away with the game if it gets several close combats in, I don't think Katana is gonna let that happen. He does have a Ghost in the back, but he also has the chance to just fake out into the Staraptor, not allowing it to get a move in, while his teammate Farigiraf will be able to do what it wants with the Trick Room. And yes, we will be seeing a fake out coming from Incineroar, but this Staraptor is not going to Mega. Is the Flowette in the back? That's the question here. And Farigiraf will be using Psychic into the Staraptor, but it has not Mega Evolved. So now fake out is no longer available on the Incineroar, and this Staraptor did not exactly protect on the previous turn. But yeah, still no Mega Evolution. Sableye now casting both Reflect on the previous turn, now Light Screen, has fully protected its team. Brave Bird coming from the Staraptor without Mega Evolving. Not the most damage in the world, but yeah, Parting Shot will be going from the Incineroar towards the Sableye, saying what it wants and returning into its Pokeball to be subbed in by something else. Torkoal will be coming out from Katana's side, and where there is a Torkoal and a Farigiraf on the team, you can bet Trick Room will be going up. So the thing here is, this Farigiraf does have Armor Tail. George Paquette is a new player. Does he know the interaction between Sableye and this Farigiraf? Armor Tail is going to block any form of movement from this Sableye. It's not going to be able to use the Disable. It will not be able to use Encore. But let's find out. Farigiraf here can just very easily go for a helping hand into its partner Torkoal. And Torkoal is very, very free with that Eruption boosted Charcoal to just explode. Harsh Sunlight is up and there is no way to change it. Trick Room is up. There is no way to reverse it. So, what now? Oh, Katana will be withdrawing the Farigiraf and instead sending in this Ampharos. And Sableye will be using Light Screen once more, but the Eruption coming from Torkoal, allowing it to just explode. But Light Screen manages to save the Sableye. But Staraptor, not so much. So now we know that the Mega in the back is more than likely this Eternal Flower Flowette. Staraptor there used as an initial Intimidate lead, but while it's interesting, it wasn't able to do very much. On the other hand, Ampharos here Oh, this is gonna be interesting. I really want to see what this Ampharos is able to do. It has Cotton Guard, Dragon Pulse, and Thunderbolt. The Eternal Flower Floette coming out here from George's side of the field will be able to take damage from this Torkoal. Light Screen is in fact still up, so it's gonna be able to do whatever it wants. But at this moment, Torkoal can still very much go for the Eruption. And if Katana, Mark is thinking, you know, I could get disabled here by that Sableye, he can very easily switch the Farigiraf back in as a feint. And it wouldn't be a very bad turn because, again, this Floette, while it's going to be able to manage to do whatever it wants, it's not going to be able to net a KO into the Torkoal. And yes, Mark will be withdrawing his Ampharos and sending out the Farigiraf, forcing... Well, he's going to be defending against both the Disable and the Encore coming from this Sableye. Mega Floette finally Mega Evolves here. Or Eternal Flower Floette, rather. Mega Evolves, Fairy Aura finally radiating. Disable will not go into the Torkoal. And this Torkoal, finally free, will use Eruption. It doesn't do as much damage into the Floette. Floette is rather bulky, but Light Screen is there. Calm Mind, though, coming from the Floette, is gonna be able to defend against anything here. But yeah, there is no physical attackers on Katana's side except for this Incineroar. On the other hand, George, playing it very, very intelligently, sends out his Sinistra, allows his Floette to just heal up even just a little. There are 2 turns left of Trick Room. Now, this Sinistra does not have Trick Room. Again, there is no way to reverse this Trick Room right now. These are the last 2 Pokemon on George's side of the field. It can go for Rage Powder if Mark decides to go for a Weather Ball into the Floette, but no such thing is happening. Another Eruption is going to come from this Torkoal. The Floette, though, gonna have to eat this completely. Sinistra defending itself from the Eruption. Helping Hand boosted Eruption through the Light Screen, and after a single Calm Mind still does a very, very healthy amount of damage. Draining Kiss will be coming from the Floette, doing a very respectable amount of damage into the Torkoal, healing itself almost back to where it was before. But the Reflect has worn off. This is the last turn of Sunlight. This is the last turn of Trick Room. But here's the thing, this Sinistra has used Protect on the previous turn. And yeah, Helping Hand will come again from the Farigiraf and into the Torkoal. And Rage Powder coming from the Sinistra here is gonna have to eat whatever damage is coming out of this Torkoal. And Weather Ball will be going from the Torkoal and into the Matcha, into the Sinistra. Hello, would you like to take Fireball? And no, apparently it did not. Dazzling Gleam coming from the Eternal Flower Floette after +1. But remember, this is the very last turn of Trick Room. It is the last turn of Light Screen. It is the last turn of Sun. So again, this Floette is the last thing on the field. While it doesn't want to take in any physical hits, the only physical attacker on Mark's side of the field, however, is the Incineroar. And again, Incineroar is no slouch. It does have access to that Flare Blitz and Parting Shot. And yeah, Katana will be pulling out his Torkoal and sending in the Ampharos. No Mega from the Ampharos though. The Eternal Flower Floette will be going for a Protect, trying to protect itself from any possible fake outs, and the Torkoal going for whatever it wants. But I'm again going to guess that might be a feint. If this Ampharos manages to switch out again and the Torkoal comes back in, that may be all it needs. This Incineroar just needs to slam this Floette with a single Flare Blitz. And it might not really appreciate that. The goal now is to whittle down this Floette as much as it can. It does have Draining Kiss to keep itself afloat, but that can only work for so long. And again, all Katana really needs to do here, Mark, just send in the Torkoal once more. Yeah, so he will be doing exactly that. He's going to be sending his Torkoal back in place of that Ampharos, putting the Sun back up. While it will be KOing the Torkoal, it's not gonna be healing the Floette for as much HP as it would like. And this Incineroar, well, we know the speed interactions. Floette will be moving before the Incineroar, and Flare Blitz coming from the Incineroar will just KO this Floette outright. Support Pokemon? Well, very aggressive support Pokemon. And with that, Mark takes game 1. No amount of boosting for that Floette managed to prepare it for the Incineroar's onslaught on that Flare Blitz in the sun. And game 2 will finally begin. Will we be seeing an adjustment from either of these players though? That's the real question. So again, I want to see, or rather, I think everyone wants to see what adjustments these two players are going to do. That was a very intense game 1. This Floette almost ran away with it. But Mark Katana Abayon did not need to Mega Evolve his Ampharos there. We still don't know what it's going to do, but it's quite interesting. And yeah, the very, very familiar lead here with the Farigiraf and the Incineroar. Neither player have made adjustments to their leads. Perhaps someone has made an adjustment in the back, but that will remain to be seen. So again, the Intimidate coming from the Incineroar will be weakening this Staraptor, but it's still not Mega Evolved. Will it be the one to Mega Evolve though this game? Will we be seeing George use the Staraptor mode of his team? On the other hand, Incineroar probably really doesn't want a parting shot into the Staraptor just in case it does Mega Evolve. Anything to boost it is bad. But we did see a very tactical move from George last turn when he didn't Mega Evolve his Staraptor. Okay, he will be going for a Protect this turn. But yeah, Fake Out into the Staraptor. But this means that the Farigiraf is once again able to do what Farigiraf does best next one Incineroar. And that is very much to just set up a Trick Room. But no, there will be no Trick Room coming out this turn. It's going to be Psychic. Staraptor survives another turn though. But the thing is, the Staraptor does not have enough damage in order to KO this Farigiraf. At the same time, this Incineroar probably doesn't want to be eating... It doesn't want to take a close combat if the Staraptor decides to Mega Evolve, but it does not. George recalls his Staraptor, and in its place is his Delphox. Sableye, the partner in crime, will be going for a Light Screen. Flare Blitz coming from the Incineroar, going into that Delphox slot. That's a lot of damage. Resisted, but yeah, a critical hit. Very unfortunate though. Thunderbolt coming from the Farigiraf into the Delphox. Not enough to secure the KO, but yeah, there is no Trick Room up on Mark's side of the field. However, does he really need the Trick Room right now? This Incineroar will probably be able to take in anything this Delphox will dish out. But the thing is, the Sableye still can't do anything. Armor Tail is going to prevent any movement from the Sableye. This Sableye is going to have to switch out. The smartest thing probably will be to switch the Staraptor back in. But again, the Sableye has already done its job. Both screens are up. Will it be staying in or no? It will not. Sableye will be switching out, and in its place will be the Staraptor to get another Intimidate into that. No, there's no Intimidate on this Staraptor. Heat Wave coming from the Delphox. And well, Incineroar parting shot into the Staraptor. it has not Mega Evolved. And, well, when the parting shot comes in, we know that this Torkoal may be coming out in its place. Will it be the Torkoal though? And has this Farigiraf gone for a Trick Room? No, it is not the Torkoal. It will be the Ampharos. We will finally be seeing this Ampharos in action. Trick Room finally goes up for Mark, and the Trick Room is up while Reflect and Light Screen are active on George's side of the field. The thing is, Staraptor is still a bird, a flying type, and Ampharos is still an electric type. So it's going to be very much able to just do what it wants, kind of. But that's not going to be the case here. Torkoal will be subbing in for the Farigiraf, and we will finally be seeing this Ampharos Mega Evolve. And what a magnificent Mega Evolution it is. Mold Breaker coming from the Ampharos, it's going to be able to go through whatever it wants ability-wise. So, Thunderbolt coming from the Ampharos and into the Delphox. Delphox goes down for its trouble. Man. Just goes down. The Light Screen did not do anything there. Incineroar forcing the Delphox to see, okay, yeah, your screens are up, but that critical hit earlier was just such a huge thing. Now, Floette, we know that George is going to try to stall out this Trick Room, but there are 2 turns of Light Screen. This Floette shouldn't have as much damage tanking any of these hits, but at the same time, this Staraptor is kind of a sitting starling. I want to say a sitting duck, but it is a sitting falcon, sitting bird of prey here. Ampharos, on the other hand, not able to use Dragon Pulse or its new Dragon typing into the Floette, but that Thunderbolt is still quite powerful. It can use Cotton Guard here to defend itself, but special moves are still going to be able to cut through it. And yes, the Floette is going to be the one Mega Evolving once again. The real question though is, will this Floette be Moonblasting, or will it be Dazzling Gleam, or will it be Calm Minded? Torkoal will be erupting, possibly taking, no, not enough to take out the Staraptor though. Thunderbolt coming from Ampharos, not enough to take out Floette, but Staraptor will be going for Brave Bird into Torkoal, takes out about 38%, but Staraptor still standing. Dazzling Gleam coming from Floette, not enough to KO both Ampharos and Torkoal. Torkoal looking a little worse for wear, but even worse, this Floette, however, can't really do as much. The only way Light Screen can go back up for the Floette is if the Sableye comes back in, and sadly the Sableye is still in the back there. It's still on the bench. Someone's going to have to tag in for it. But yes, Staraptor will be protecting itself, and no, both of these Pokemon will be protecting themselves, trying to stall out these last few turns. Weather Ball coming from the Torkoal into the Floette, and Ampharos using Thunderbolt. The Light Screen on George's side is finally gone, but this is still 1 turn of Trick Room. Torkoal and Ampharos will be able to move before this Floette and this Staraptor. It's just a matter of turn order, but Mark, not wanting to risk too much, sends in Incineroar in place of his Mega Ampharos. And yeah, George, seeing the difficulty here, chooses to send Sableye back in as well. Weather Ball will be coming from Torkoal and into the Sableye. Not enough to take it out though. Brave Bird once again coming from the Staraptor into the Torkoal. Neither of them getting KO'd, even with the twist, even with the recoil. So many Pokemon down here on their, well, they're kind of sweating a little, worse for wear really, on their last legs. But this Incineroar now has Fake Out pressure directly into the Staraptor. At the same time, it can just go straight for a Throat Chop into the Sableye here if it really wants to. I doubt it's gonna want to remain without the sun, and I don't think it wants to lose too much HP, so the Torkoal is the only way to set the weather back up. And Staraptor's gonna, if it goes for another Brave Bird, it's gonna be able to do whatever it wants here, but at the same time, yeah, okay. So Staraptor will be subbed in by this Floette. Floette comes in with its Fairy Aura, and Mark sees the opportunity. Okay, I might need the Sun a little later on. Farigiraf comes in for the Incineroar, and Reflect will be going up on George's side of the field. Flare Blitz though, with the Sun still up, this Floette just subbed in for the Staraptor and goes down for its efforts. Even with Reflect up, that Sun is just so powerful. Here's a sunny day for you. How would you like to eat a Flare Blitz, sir? And yeah, I guess that was it. This Staraptor without Intimidate has Reckless. It may have a stronger Brave Bird, but not having the ability to intimidate the opponent it's difficult. This Staraptor without that Intimidate has to eat through this Incineroar. At the same time, well, Incineroar probably isn't going to appreciate a close combat, but Staraptor is not going to appreciate anything that happens thereafter though. Yeah, Incineroar with the Chople Berry, no stab on this, no same type attack bonus on this close combat, will not be taking out the Incineroar, but Staraptor's defenses will drop. Chople Berry showing exactly why it's so difficult to take out. Flare Blitz slamming into Staraptor, taking it out completely. This Sableye with no damaging moves will not be able to do anything here. Mark may just be taking the game here. Will we be seeing a forfeit here, or will George go through? No. We will be seeing a forfeit. Mark Katana Abayon will be taking the game and the set. Napay one final game di ay nga wa pa nahuman. It is between Marv and Binsoy. Ato daw ning sudlon. Let's go in. I guess for the sake of this match, since it's gonna be more of a for fun, let's watch this kind of match. So why daw kung kaas mong binisaya? Di ko sure.
Try that.
La, kinsa naman yung nabilin diri. Sige, gipasod na sa ni Binsoy ang Talon Flame kaning manuka ni. Magsanday sabong na juta ni. Na diri, alang, Feraligator ni Marv, walay focus sa siya, pero 1% lang nabilin sa HP. Kaya pa kayo niya, nag-uwan pa. Pero ang Talon Flame, 100% man. So, na pa ni Gilwings. Pwede pa ni siya mo atake diretso. Way mabuhat ang Feraligator. Naon na nato kung naka-boost na siya. Wa man sad ka, naka-boost man. Naka-Dragon Dance ka usa, pero kausa rasad. Pero naon na to, awa. Paspas mo sa nis Gengar, pero mas paspas si Talon Flame kung 100% pa yung HP, wa man nakuhaan. Gilwings active pa. So pwede pa jud kay ni. Kaya yung Feraligator, Mark, di ni siya ganahan mo atake ka ron da. Kinahanglan ni siya mo switch out, pero naon na to ang field conditions. Kay Mark, last Pokemon naman sa ni Marv, so wala siya ni atake. Sige, bira lang. So, ni Tailwind. Pangutana ron, unsa gibuhat? Oh, sige. Ang Thunderbolt, ang iyahang ang Rotom ni Binsoy padung sa Feraligatr ni Marv. Ang Mega Feraligatr ni balik na lang noon siyang Pokeball na knock out jud. Icy Wind coming from the Gengar though. Ano ni balik na. Ang Icy Wind ni igo sa Talonflame bisag ni boost na siya gamay sa iyang kuan. Tailwind murag wa gyapon pero maunda man lang sad ni siya. Ang Gengar naman lay nabilin. Si Binsoy noon last Pokemon na po niya murag si Sceptile. Wa nga. Sceptile weak ba og poison then si Gengar kay poisonous ba jud ni siya. Kay poison type. Murag naamsad ni siya kuan tanaw na tong team sheet bi. Nalagi sludge bomb ang Gengar pero mas makauna mo gud niglihok si Sceptile na padri Tailwind. So ang pangutana mo knockout ba ni Gengar si Sceptile usa ka igo dahil makaya ba niya mabuhi pa nga na may life orb na recoil o mega evolve na si Sceptile. Nya, sa may sunod. Nara, ni Earth Power pa jud Sceptile. Wa nga. Likis Gengar. Knock out. KO. Higda. Wa na. Napildi na. Sige, so nidaog aning nakakuha sa game or game 3 na nila o ang final set or game 3 final game nila o ang nakakuha sa set si Binsoy. Ibinsoy. GG's. Sige. Okay. That was fun. Maybe I should cast in Bisaya more often. No, not really. We gotta try to be professional in the actual recorded games, but comment lang mo kung ganahan pa mo magbinisaya na casting para binisaya casting jud ba. Okay, so top cut 4 players single elimination. Dali rin hala guys, naputay tayo mag-dinner. So if namoy plano ko yung sinyong mga papa or mga dads there in the chat, dads playing, everyone who did not make top cut, happy Father's Day in advance, and let's start the top cut. So ang nakasud atong usual suspects si Logic, si Katana, si Snibs ug si Blink. Ang usual suspects nato. Lo. Wala. Okay. Top cut game. Top cut game. Ang iro bitaw ni Huy Abog Maayo. Ikapoy na siya namo. Okay. Since this match will be recorded, I will be casting properly in the Queen's English. But if Mark and Logic, if Katana and Logic are still playing when this match concludes, I will go back to the Bisaya casting kay Murglingaw to that. That was a lot of fun. Burak. Oh, in the words of Wolfie ng Cebu, burak. Paging. Punay. O nara, nisod na ang Pokeball tier ng noobs. In his own words, mercy po please, noobs lang me. Noobs daw siya. Okay. Let's see what we've got here. Blink will be sporting the Mega Swampert representation, whereas Snivs will be sporting the very fun Blink versus Snivs for the first round of Top Cut. These guys are sparring partners and the best of friends. They play a lot of Dota together. And I wonder if any of that will translate into this game. Anyway, this is quite an interesting matchup because Blink does excel in the rain, but we know that Snivs is bringing a Charizard Y? Mega Charizard Y to change the weather. Both of these players are gonna have to be very strategic with their weather placement. However, Blink does have the advantage of manual setting with the Sableye. More interestingly, this Mega Venusaur will be very interesting to see into this match considering the Charizard. It will have the luxury of being able to use that chlorophyll from the opposing Charizard Y if it really needs to. But the Incineroar Admirer and the Gamer will be starting. Snivs will once again be leading with the tried, true, and tested. The Sableye, the Charizard and the Aerodactyl will be coming out from Sniv's side, and Blink with also very tried, true, and tested, a Sableye and the Venusaur. But the real question is, who's Mega Evolving this turn? Nearly every Pokemon, well, both the Charizard and the Venusaur do have the capability to just Mega Evolve here, but will they? And if they Mega Evolve, will this Sableye be going for a Rain Dance to dampen this Charizard's day? And, well, I think it would be very much in its favor to do exactly that, though. But again, if Chlorophyll goes up, this Venusaur is going to be able to move much faster, but doesn't really have much other moves. But yeah, Snivs will be Mega Evolving his Charizard here into that Mega Charizard Y. And yeah, Blink will also be Mega Evolving his Venusaur. We will not be seeing the Swampert mode this time around. But the real question is, what are these supports going to do? And yeah, as it always goes, the Sableye goes for the Rain Dance here. And the Aerodactyl going for some immediate damage with Rock Slide. Weather Ball coming from the Charizard. While it doesn't have stab on that Weather Ball for the water anymore, but yeah, it's still enough to KO this Sableye. Sadly, Venusaur becomes a victim of RNG here and flinches due to that Rock Slide. But that's not gonna matter too much because the old reliable is here. Archaludon will be here to challenge this Charizard in the rain. Now, quite possibly, the Pelipper is still in the back. We're not exactly sure yet. Again, this is not the Swampert mode, and Basculegion could also be very much in the back. This Basculegion does have Choice Scarf, and in most case scenarios, Choice Scarf Basculegion will have the power to knock out Mega Charizard Y even in the sun. But Basculegion, as I look at these team sheets, is a Jolly Nature, so that's going to be quite shaky. Snivs, though, realizing that he could very much change the weather a little later on, pulls out his Charizard and sends his Garchomp in its place. And Electro Shot will be coming from Blink, but will it be targeting into the Garchomp slot? It will be getting the +1 special attack boost here, and it successfully goes into the Aerodactyl, Predicting that switch, Aerodactyl will be hanging on here with its Focus Sash. But yeah, again, 1 HP is a lot more than 0. And Sludge Bomb coming from the Mega Venusaur, not doing that much damage, but successfully poisoning this Garchomp. Every turn, it's going to be losing 12% of its HP. Well, to be specific, 12.5, but that's always rounded down. Now, the Aerodactyl here has already set up the Tailwind. It can just keep going for the Rock Slides here, trying to fish out flinches. At the same time, though, our Chalodon does have stamina. That's going to be infinitely harder to take out for this Garchomp. And, well, this Garchomp's also going to be able to do several things. It does have access to Earthquake. And, yeah, Aerodactyl will be protecting this turn and not take any damage at all. Garchomp will be going for Earthquake. Aerodactyl already in flight, though, so wouldn't be hurt by that Earthquake anyway. Our Chalodon takes almost too much damage, 60%, but will get a stamina boost. Garchomp, though, will be eating up about 10% of his HP along with the poison at the end of this turn. Our Chalodon fires back with Dragon Pulse, knocking out Garchomp. Both players now down a piece, though. Giga Drain coming from the Venusaur. The real question is, we still don't know what Pokemon is in the back for Blink. It could be the Pelipper. If Charizard comes back in this turn, and it does not, it is the Samurott. Both players wary of whoever the last Pokemon on Blink's side of the field is. Snivs being very, very cautious here. He does have the Samurott, and in the rain, Samurott will be able to do much more damage with his water moves. But something to note, this Samurott has no water moves. It has Ceaseless Edge, Sucker Punch, and Sacred Sword, so it can Sacred Sword directly into the Archaludon. Aerodactyl goes for a Rock Slide, boots the Archaludon, but then that really didn't do much here, simply because the Samurott managed to take out the Archaludon with that Sacred Sword. And finally, the last Pokemon on Sniv's side of the field is Basculegion. The flinch earlier prevented the Venusaur from attacking into anything here. Last two Pokemon on Blink's side is a fish and a frog. Well, the frog here, Venusaur, can probably heal itself up completely with the Giga Drain. It does have Giga Drain, I believe. Checking the sheets again. It does have Giga Drain, and it can heal up by taking out the Samurott, but this Samurott, not taking it too lightly, will be knocking out this Basculegion. And spikes will be scattered around Blink's side of the field. Giga Drain coming from the Mega Venusaur. However, Venusaur is still a Grass type at 63% HP. The incoming Charizard Y is a Fire type and will be bringing in the Sun. Despite the Tailwind ending on Sniv's side of the field, I don't think he really needs it. Both Charizard and Aerodactyl are going to be that much faster than this Venusaur. Blink's going to have to bide his time to think about his next few moves here. Try to burn out the timer and think of an adjustment for Game 2. I just can't feasibly see any way that this Venusaur can take out the Charizard and the Aerodactyl at the same time. So yeah, Weather Ball and Rock Slide will be going into the Venusaur, but it was protected. Blink still stalling out for time here. Allows his Venusaur to go down. Try to burn out the timer as much as he can, thinking of possible adjustments. Weather Ball will be coming from Snivs, and it'll smack into the Venusaur and net him the game. Game 1 will be going to Snivs. Now it's time for game 2. Will we be seeing several adjustments from either of these players? Will we still be seeing the Aerodactyl and the Charizard lead from Snivs? Will Blink realize that, you know what, maybe I should change it up a bit? I hope he does have a flowchart for this. I want to see a game 3, but anything can happen. The Mega Swampert though, Swampert has been picking up in speed with the release of Regulation M-B, so I'm quite curious if that will be brought into this game too. So yeah, Snivs will be leading once again with Aerodactyl and that Charizard, but instead of the Venusaur, this Sableye will now be coming in with the Archaludon. Quite a bit of an adjustment. So the thing here is, even if Sableye manages to successfully set up the Rain Dance, if the Charizard and the Aerodactyl were to double up into it again, just like in the last game, this gives the Archaludon the exact chance to just pop the Charizard. But Archaludon will be protecting this turn, and I'm going to guess that this Sableye will be going for... Oh, it did not go for the Rain Dance yet. Quite an interesting move for both players. So, Light Screen is up at the very first turn. I'm going to guess that it... Well, Blink probably doesn't really need the Rain right now, considering the Garchomp is on the opposite side of the field. A single Dragon Pulse should be enough to take out the Garchomp though. And of course, with the Sableye still there, it has the ability to just use Reflect. But Blink wants to save the time. Venusaur is once again selected, but we don't know if the Swampert is in the back. Aerodactyl will be protecting itself. And, well, what's this Sableye gonna do? Sableye with the Will-O-Wisp into the Garchomp, neutralizing it almost completely, but it's still a Garchomp and it is carrying a Life Orb. And even with the burn, it probably won't be able to do as much damage, but it'll still do some damage. Like I said, it took about 30%, a critical hit on the Venusaur there. Blink is just not very lucky today, a little unfortunate with all of these RNG mishaps. But the Sableye is still up. Blink still has the chance to take this back. I'm pretty sure the Sableye being able to cast Reflect on this next turn may change things in its favor. But yeah, we will not be seeing the Swampert mode this time around. It will still be the Mega Venusaur mode. And yes, Sableye will finally be using Reflect this turn, reducing the damage coming in from all the opposing Rock Slides and the opposing Earthquakes. Sableye may be going down this turn. A very difficult critical hit. Like I said, Blink has not been very lucky today. RNG is not on his side. This Sableye will be going down without being able to set up the rain. And yeah, Garchomp, despite the burn, manages to take out Sableye. But Venusaur, needing a little bit of HP recovery, will use Giga Drain into the Garchomp. But it didn't do as much damage as we'd all hoped. Now the question is, will Blink be revealing the final member of his team, or will he be sending the Archaludon back out? It's extremely risky, but yeah, he will be sending the Archaludon back out. Any Earthquake coming from this Garchomp is going to be rather difficult, and he still has to deal with the Mega Charizard Y that would be looming in the back. Tailwind is still up on Sniv's side of the field, but that doesn't matter too much considering both Venusaur and Archaludon aren't exactly the fastest things. So it's probably of slightly less priority though. You know, the Aerodactyl will be using Protect, trying to stall out a few more turns. Garchomp though will be going for another Earthquake. Powered down by both the Reflect and the Burn, it doesn't do much damage into the Archaludon, super effective, but only takes 25%. Garchomp, however, will be eating up 10% of its HP by the Life Orb. Dragon Pulse coming from Archaludon takes out Garchomp and sends it back to Sniv's roster on the bench. Giga Drain, however, will be bouncing off of the Aerodactyl, which was protecting itself. leftovers from the Archaludon, now at +1. And yeah, no more Tailwind from the opposing side of the field. But we really have to remember, this Charizard is still a threat, and it is still there. And the thing is, we really don't know who's in the back on Blink's side of the field. If it is the Pelipper, then it would be a little difficult to set it up this turn. The best thing that Blink can probably do is try to stall it out, try to see what the Charizard is going to do. But this is going to allow the Charizard to just, well, Mega Evolve. And it can go for a Heat Wave right now, and it's going to do a very, very respectable amount of damage. There will be no switch coming from Blink's side, so he is probably stalling it out. Aerodactyl will be using Tailwind, no Protect from Blink's side of the field either. So yeah, this Charizard will be using Heat Wave, not enough to take out the Venusaur nor the Archaludon. But Archaludon manages to boost itself up ever so slightly. Dragon Pulse coming from Archaludon does pretty okay amount of damage into the Charizard, but Giga Drain into the Aerodactyl will be taking out almost half of its HP. Now that the sun is finally out, will we be seeing a switch from Blink into the Pelipper? Is the Pelipper even in the back? Light Screen has worn off. So the only way for these two Pokemon on Blink's side of the field to survive another Heat Wave is if the rain comes in. That Light Screen was just the last barrier for Snivs to actually take this out, but yeah, Blink's gonna have to do something. Archaludon will be protecting itself though. And yeah, both Venusaur and Archaludon will be protecting themselves. This time it's Blink trying to stall out the time. Rock Slide coming in from the Aerodactyl. Heat Wave also coming in from the Mega Charizard Y. And this could be pretty dicey considering we're not sure again what exactly is in the back of Blink's team. We don't even know the last Pokemon on Sniv's side of the field. But the real important thing is the Pelipper in the back of Blink's team? And what is the Pokemon on Sniv's side of the field? The last few Pokemon, looking at the roster, could be anything. But the real kicker here on Blink is whether he brought the Basculegion or whether he brought the Pelipper. Now Heat Wave will be coming in. Will there be a miss? There is no miss. Heat Wave hits into both targets and will be KOing, knocking out both Archaludon and Venusaur. Both of them there go down, and Reflect goes down too, but I'm going to guess the final Pokemon on the side of Blink is the Basculegion. If it was the Pelipper, it could have come in a little earlier to stifle this Charizard, but Basculegion doesn't really have much it can do. Tailwind is up. Yeah, Tailwind is up on Sniv's side of the field. Aerodactyl will be protecting itself, and I believe this Charizard will be going for a Solar Beam. No, it is protecting, stalling out, but again, the Aerodactyl, even without Tailwind, is naturally faster than Basculegion, but we have to remember, Blink's Basculegion is jolly. This is a jolly-natured Basculegion. It's still gonna be able to do something here. I mean, it can still Wave Crash into the Charizard, but that's pretty difficult, but it will instead go for the last respects. With about 200 base power, it just manages to knock it out. And yeah, okay, the Aerodactyl still has its Focus Sash though, so it's gonna have to be hit twice. Samurott, however, is the final Pokemon on Sniv's side of the field. Last Respects will not be doing as much damage into it. Well, neither will Wave Crash, but I suppose Last Respects does have more power this time around. Blink's gonna have to hope for a critical hit into the Samurott in order to do even any substantial amount of damage. But Sucker Punch coming from the Samurott will not allow this Basculegion to do anything. Blink will be losing Game 2, rewarding Snivs with the entire set. Hala, nahuman na di ay. Hala, unsa naman sad ni? Midweek Smoke 4 2.0.
It's not bad.
Only one match for the toppest of Top Cut. So the Top Cut, the finals of the very first Sunday Sabong, will once again, just like Midweek Smoke 4 before it, the finals will be between Louis John Valencia, Logic, and Vince Angel Punay, Snivs. So these two are sparring buddies, just like Snivs. Actually, all four players in Top Cut are regularly sparring buddies, but I know that Snivs does have a little trouble playing against Logic, and Logic's fairly confident into these matchups, so I'm genuinely curious to see how this is gonna play. We thought this tournament would end around 7 or 8 p.m. but looks like it's just gonna end around 6. We'll all be able to go out for dinner with our dads later. Pwede pa ta mukaon kuyog ni Papa. Unless ikaw si Papa, then pwede pa ka mukuyog og kaon kuyog sa pamilya. Erase din ako slightly ang kuan daw, ang gain sa microphone. I think this might be a little better. Try lang. Sige. So, the final two, the usual sparring partners. Both players have entered the room. Sige. Okay, I gotta get into the zone to cast it properly. Drink a little water. Logic already in the court. Definitely ready to battle. Okay. So, we will be seeing both players with Charizards. Okay, so both of them are bringing very similar setups here. Very similar setups. So, Mega Floette on Logic's side, along with the... Well, we did just see Sniv's team in action earlier. So let's talk a little more about Logic's side. He hasn't dropped a game this entire tournament, and it is the Charizardite Y equipped on the Charizard, but it is a timid nature in contrast to the modest nature on Sniv. So the Charizard that Logic is bringing is going to be faster, and the Eternal Flower Floette does have Light of Ruin. So this is going to be very interesting. Okaberry is on the King Gambit just in case any fire moves go into it, but tried and tested. Snivs will be bringing in both the Charizard and the Aerodactyl. That has been his lead every time we spectated any of his matches. So, Basculegion here and Whimsicott are going to be the leads for Logic. There's some immediate pressure here for a Tailwind from Whimsicott, but the same can be said for the Aerodactyl. This Basculegion on Logic's side, however, is Mystic Water. It does not have a Focus Sash, so it's going to be quite susceptible to... It's going to be susceptible to the Solar Beam. And yes, Snivs will be Mega Evolving his Charizard here into that Mega Charizard Y. And the Drought will come in. The sun is going to shine through. Wave Crash is not the greatest move here, but it may have enough going for it to just take out this Charizard. Yeah, so Wave Crash from the Basculegion, will it be enough to take out the Charizard in the sun? And yes, it definitely is. Adamant Basculegion with Mystic Water. Yeah, after that Tailwind, it was just enough to take it out. But the Aerodactyl does manage to bring in its own Tailwind. But its main attacker, the Charizard, is gone. Snivs is gonna have to think. That was a devastating first turn, though. So again, the Snivs is gonna have to think of something quite quickly in order to patch this up. But I'm pretty sure both of these players are well suited to do whatever they want. Samurott will be coming in from Snivs. It does have Sucker Punch. As we saw in previous games, this Samurott will have the capability to stuff this Basculegion. Tailwind is up for both trainers, but we don't know if the Samurott is naturally faster than the Basculegion, and frankly, it does have the luxury to find out, since nothing this Basculegion can actually hurt the Samurott, and the Samurott on Sniv's side does not have any water moves, so it doesn't exactly have anything to fear in the sun. Instead of a water move, it has a fighting move in Sacred Sword. But yeah, it does have two dark moves in Sucker Punch and Ceaseless Edge. Snivs will be pulling out his Aerodactyl, and subbing in for it will be the Garchomp. Basculegion on Logic's side of the field will be protecting itself, preventing that Sucker Punch from coming through. Whimsicott will use a super effective Moonblast into the Samurott, deals 65% of its HP. Samurott not exactly happy with that happening. Now the Basculegion is still up and running. This Whimsicott does have a Focus Sash, so it's going to be able to do the exact same thing. Logic, not wanting to lose the Basculegion just yet, tags in his own Garchomp, while the Samurott on Sniv's side will be protecting itself. Garchomp will, however, be Dragon Clawing into the Garchomp that just came in. Sniv's Garchomp will be knocking out Logic's Garchomp, which has just come in. This Whimsicott, though, has still yet to act, and yeah, it is once again Moonblast into the Samurott slot. But the real question is, which Mega Evolution did Logic bring? Did he even bring either of them? The King Gambit has a good reason to actually come into this game. But yeah, Tailwind, we are on the last turn of Tailwind for both of these players. Basculegion can still protect itself, Samurott no longer can. And Whimsicott, though, will be... well, it still has the Focus Sash intact. So Snivs, realizing that, okay, I don't think I want to lose my Samurott just yet, will be sending in Aerodactyl to probably set up the Tailwind once more once it goes down. Basculegion will be protecting itself, not wanting to get hit by any Sucker Punches from the Samurott, but Garchomp will be going for the Dragon Claw, but it is stifled by the Protect on the Basculegion side. Tailwind now gone for both players, though Whimsicott still able to set it back up and allow this Basculegion to just smack anything at least once. The sun is on its last turn as well. So Garchomp, though, can go for the Stomping Tantrum or the Dragon Claw. I believe there was a team sheet error. This Garchomp has Earthquake, not Stomping Tantrum. But yes, okay, Basculegion will be going for an Aqua Jet in the sun. Doesn't quite pick up the KO. Rock Slide hitting into both the Whimsicott and the Basculegion. This Whimsicott though did not use a setup move. It will be using Moonblast, but who is the target of this Moonblast? There's a good chance it's going to be the Aerodactyl. Once the Aerodactyl is gone, Snivs can no longer set up the Tailwind. But it is not the Aerodactyl, it is the Garchomp. Garchomp will be going down. The final offensive piece on Sniv's side will be gone. He's going to have to rely on this Samurott and this Aerodactyl combo. We still don't know what the final Mega Evolution is on Logic's side, but if it is the Mega Floette, then this Samurott is not going to be able to do much. But we're going to see that it is in fact the Charizard. And well, both of the Pokemon on Sniv's side of the field are they're very much in range of a Heat Wave, but if I recall properly, checking the team sheet, this Aerodactyl has Wide Guard, so if it chooses to Wide Guard this turn, it's not going to be able to get knocked out by a Heat Wave. Now Whimsicott will be using Tailwind to boost this partner Charizard's speed right up. And yeah, it will be Solar Beam, and that's probably going to go straight into the Samurott. There was no Wide Guard here. Yes, it goes into the Aerodactyl, not the Samurott. But yeah, single target here. Ceaseless Edge will be hitting into the Whimsicott. Not very effective. There's really not much it can do left here. I mean, it can go for a Sucker Punch, but Whimsicott is now free to just use Moonblast into the Samurott and take it out. Even if this Samurott manages to use Sucker Punch into the Charizard, it might not be enough. But yeah, Sucker Punch wasn't even enough to take out the Whimsicott here. And yeah, there we go. Moonblast will hit into Samurott, knocking it out and winning the game for Logic. Okay, so let's... I want to see any adjustments here. Both players going straight into it. Okay. Sige, so we did see the interesting leads last time with the Whimsicott and the Basculegion on Logic, which kind of played really in his favor. Whereas Snivs led with the Charizard and the Aerodactyl. Sadly, the Charizard was not able to do very much because it just got knocked out in the sun by the wave crash. So yeah, Basculegion showing exactly why Basculegion is one of the most used Pokemon in this entire game so far. It is just a force to be reckoned with a heavy emphasis on force. It is powerful. None of Sniv's Pokemon can actually resist any of the hits from the Basculegion except for the Samurott, but that's gonna be quite difficult because we saw Logic dance around the Samurott's Sucker Punch and Ceaseless Edge in the previous game, and the Samurott really can't do anything into the Whimsicott either. So there's gonna have to be several adjustments in order to make sure this Samurott can actually do its job. So without further ado, Game 2 of the Grand Finals will begin. Snivs making a major adjustment here, will be leading with Garchomp and the Aerodactyl. On the other hand, Logic, yeah, okay, I'm not bringing the Basculegion anymore because I don't think you're going to be bringing in the Charizard. Sends in Floette in place of the Basculegion. Once again, directly threatening the Garchomp that just came in. So yeah, Snivs will be withdrawing the Garchomp and in its place will be the Charizard. And yeah, Floette being unchallenged here will be mega evolving. This Floette, very powerful, modest nature. It does have the capability to just hit everything with Dazzling Gleam here. Fairy Aura finally radiating from it. Whimsicott, of course, will be starting the game off with a powerful Tailwind, boosting its teammates very, very nicely. Moonblast hitting into that Charizard will be chunking it for half of its HP though. More than likely, that will be putting it in range of a Light of Ruin. But both players now have Tailwind up. Now we know that Charizard and Aerodactyl are going to be significantly faster in the Tailwind, but that single turn, managing to just chunk 50% off that Charizard, probably might be enough to bring this into Logic's favor. But Sniffs is playing a little more defensively here. He swaps out his Aerodactyl and sends in the Sylveon. Now Sylveon is a very fantastic adjustment because it can use the Fairy Aura of that Mega Floette against it. So Whimsicott will be using Encore, and yeah, the Aerodactyl no longer there. Light of Ruin coming from the Mega Floette. It is actually faster than the Charizard. What's going on? This is a speedy Floette. Light of Ruin manages to take out the Floette, and the series of switches here, Logic has just been successfully calling out everything Snivs is doing. Aerodactyl will once again be coming out from Sniv's side, but yeah, Tailwind is still up for both of these trainers. But the thing is, we now know that this is not a bulky Floette. It is going to be hitting hard and is going to be hitting fast. For it to actually outspeed the Charizard means that Charizard must have been slightly bulky, but just not bulky enough. So, Aerodactyl here, now the fastest thing on the field, can just spam several things like the Rock Slide. Yeah, and it will be going for a Rock Slide, trying to fish for probably a flinch. But yeah, it does a very good amount of damage into the Floette, and it will be getting the flinch. Whimsicott will be using Moonblast into the Sylveon, taking out about 29-30% of its HP. But again, this Sylveon will be able to use that Fairy Aura against this Floette, taking them both out with a Fairy Aura boosted Hyper Voice, knocking out both Floette and the Whimsicott. Logic is now down his Mega and down his primary speedy support. Basculegion and Garchomp will be coming out from his side of the field now. This Sylveon is becoming the champion of Sniv's team. Charizard not being able to do much, simply going down as soon as it comes in. But this Sylveon is not here to mess around, it is here to play. Aerodactyl protecting itself, Sylveon also protecting itself with Detect. Now the question is, what's Logic doing? He goes for a Dragon Claw into the Aerodactyl, not doing anything. Basculegion also going for a Last Respects into the Sylveon here. The Tailwind for both players have petered out here, but Aerodactyl can very much still keep this going. Aerodactyl, all he has to do is set up the Tailwind once more. There's nothing that Basculegion and Garchomp together can do to take it out in one hit. But for this Aerodactyl to be hanging on to its Focus Sash, it will be susceptible to Basculegion's Aqua Jet on the next turn. But it will successfully get the Tailwind up for its teammates. Sylveon and Aerodactyl will not be able to protect properly this turn, but this is the chance for it to go on the offensive. Whether the Sylveon is going to go with a single hit attack or another Hyper Voice, and it will go for the Hyper Voice, knocking this Garchomp down to red. 7% HP remaining. This Garchomp is fairly bulky. Aerodactyl getting smacked hard. 12% remaining. But the Garchomp with the Life Orb on Logic's side will be forcing it down. The recoil was just too much for it, and it goes back into its trainer's Pokeball. Basculegion, though, still up and running, locks into that Last Respects. It does have the Mystic Water. It is not the fastest Pokemon around, but it sure as hell is going to be very, very fast. I mean, very, very powerful, rather. But Tailwind up on Sniv's side of the field, fantastic positioning. He's managed to take this game back. Aerodactyl will have some difficulty. It might be able to take assist with taking down this Basculegion, But for this Basculegion to outspeed this Aerodactyl, it's going to have to hit it with an Aqua Jet. But Basculegion here will be protecting itself. And yeah, the Aerodactyl will be going for a Rock Slide, which just pings directly off of that Protect. Garchomp will be using Earthquake, single target, since there's nothing left on the field. Garchomp naturally faster anyway than this Basculegion. Tailwind is just a little bit of overkill. It cannot just go for a Dragon Claw, but that's not the case here. This Garchomp's going to just be able to run away with the game, even if it does nothing. Basculegion manages to avoid the Rock Slide from the Aerodactyl, and yeah, it doesn't affect Aerodactyl, its teammate, but it will be affecting this fish. Basculegion goes down to the Earthquake. We will be going to Game 3. Sniv successfully pivoting around Logic's game plan, and what a fantastic play that was. So again, we'll be going into Game 3. Neither player waiting, they're just gonna go straight for it. So again, we want to see what kind of adjustments these players are gonna make. So yeah, they haven't really used the Metagross much, but that Sylveon in Game 2 was just chef's kiss. Logic's gonna have to think of a way around. I believe Logic's game plan was so hyper-focused on just taking out the Charizard and whittling away everything Snivs was going to send in, but it kind of fell a little short, but that wasn't unwinnable at all. This Sylveon, though, using that Fairy Aura against the Floette was incredible, but we now know, and we know the speed tier, speed interactions between all of these Pokemon. This is a speedy Floette. So this cannot be underestimated. Especially by Snivs, considering his Zard is a lot slower than this Floette. Interestingly. So here we go, Game 3 of the Grand Finals of the very first Sunday Sabong. Snivs will once again be leading with Aerodactyl and Garchomp, but Logic also making his own adjustments here. He will be leading with Whimsicott and Garchomp. Garchomp now up for both players, but we have to remember, Whimsicott very much has the advantage here when it comes to setting up the Tailwind. Sniv seeing both players locked in fast. The Sylveon will be coming in instead of the Garchomp tagging in. This Garchomp on Logic's side of the field will be protecting itself. We will not be seeing a Tailwind coming from Logic this time around. There was no Tailwind proc, so this is going to be a Moonblast. And a Moonblast that goes directly into the Sylveon, which was once the Garchomp slot. But now, Tailwind up. This Garchomp's kind of a sitting duck here. It's not going to be able to do too much damage into the Sylveon, but the Sylveon can very much just dish out a fantastical amount of damage with that Hyper Voice. At the same time, Aerodactyl will have the speed advantage to just go for a Rock Slide, fish for some flinches here. But at the same time, this Aerodactyl can also Wide Guard to prevent any damage from the Rock Slides and anything else going into it. But this Garchomp can very much just Dragon Claw directly into the Aerodactyl. So yeah, we will be seeing a slight adjustment here. It will be the Metagross. Metagross will be coming in place of the Aerodactyl. Rock Slide coming from the Garchomp. Will we be seeing this Sylveon flinch though? Garchomp taking a little bit of recoil damage, but a little recoil in exchange for a majestic flinch into the Sylveon was exactly what the doctor ordered. This Garchomp lives for another turn. And at the same time, unfortunately, this Metagross is going to be susceptible to this Earthquake from the Garchomp. At the same time, Encore is very much active on the Whimsicott. It can force anything at this point. So Whimsicott will be protecting itself, which only tells us that this Garchomp is geared and ready to go for a Earthquake, which will not be coming out because this Mega Metagross manages to just punch through it in one hit. Hyper Voice coming from the opposing Sylveon on Sniv's Sylveon, and it just bounces off the Protect, but that was covering for any option there. This Metagross is, however, that much faster. Oh, but now we see that the Charizard is here on Logic side of the field. Logic is going for the Charizard mode, not the Floette mode on his team this time around. But it is the final turn of Tailwind for Snivs. But this Sylveon can still do a very, very significant amount of damage. Despite it being slightly weakened, Moonblast from the Sylveon will still do a pretty good chunk of damage, but I believe Hyper Voice will be significantly stronger regardless. So Logic will be switching out his Whimsicott in exchange for his Basculegion here and Mega Evolving his Charizard. While counterproductive slightly for the Basculegion's Wave Crashes and Aqua Jets, that probably won't be mattering too much considering it's any move that the Charizard is gonna do is gonna just knock out the Mega Metagross here. Weather Ball will be coming, but not for the Metagross. It will be knocking out the Sylveon instead. This Sylveon is now down for the count. And Sniv's Tailwind is gone. But just because it's gone doesn't mean it's out. The last turn of Tailwind on Logic side with no way to set it back up. This Garchomp on Sniv's side is in fact Jolly Nature though, so it's still going to be able to do a very, very good amount of damage. And while both of the Pokemon on Sniv's side of the field can protect and just allow itself some breathing room from this Charizard and Basculegion combo, but this also means that Logic, anticipating any protects, can bring in his Whimsicott and set the Tailwind back up as soon as it dissipates. So yes, he will be pulling out his Charizard and sending Whimsicott back in, pivoting very, very nicely. Metagross will be protecting itself here, and Basculegion will be going for the last respects into the Metagross, but this Garchomp did not protect itself. Goes for a Life Orb but fails to get the KO onto the Basculegion. Tailwind will peter out from Logic side of the field, but Metagross here, having just protected, it's gonna have to take a last respects from this Basculegion, and I don't think it's going to appreciate that very much. Adaptability boosted last respects might just be enough to take out this Mega Metagross. At the same time, his Aerodactyl is still up, so he could switch into it, sacrifice its Focus Sash, but come on, is that really something you want to do at this stage of the game? So Garchomp here is still free to do what it wants. It cannot Dragon Claw into the Whimsicott, but it can go for the Earthquake so long as Snivs will withdraw his Metagross and send out the Aerodactyl. So Aerodactyl here is going to have to set up Tailwind once more, but Whimsicott does it first. The real question is, will Last Respects instead go into the Garchomp? No, it goes into the Aerodactyl as we predicted, and well, this leaves the Aerodactyl very much in a very difficult situation actually. It is now susceptible to the Aqua Jet coming from this Basculegion. No Earthquake coming from Snivs there means that this Basculegion is gonna just be able to pick it off with a single Aqua Jet. And the Whimsicott is gonna be able to poke through this Aerodactyl with, well, any move it wants because it's not gonna be able to set up the Tailwind. Aerodactyl will be falling to that last respects from the Basculegion. Whimsicott will be smacking the Garchomp with Moonblast. Not enough to knock it out, but will Garchomp be retaliating? And it does. It retaliates with Rock Tomb. It knocks out the Basculegion, but then this leaves the final two Pokemon for both trainers. And I don't think either of these Pokemon really want to deal with what's on Logic's side of the field right now. They're on their last two moves, but yeah, Mega Metagross falls to the Charizard here, while Whimsicott will handily take out the Charizard, or rather the Garchomp. This Charizard is going to have to bait out, Sniffs is going to have to pray for a double protect or a heat wave miss here. Garchomp at 12% is not going to be happy to do anything. Weather Ball coming from the Charizard will be smacking into the Metagross and knocking it out completely. And seeing as no status moves were coming from the Whimsicott, it will be using Moonblast, securing the KO and the game for Logic. Back-to-back wins for Louis Valencia. Congratulations. He takes Game 3 and the entire tournament. Takes the set. Once again, our champion for these online tournaments, Louis Logic Valencia. Give a round of applause, everyone. So, congratulations again to the players. We still have time to go out with our dads tonight, so I hope that's what everyone's gonna do. To all the viewers and people who are fathers, happy Father's Day once more. And yes, that was the very first Sunday Sabong. I'd like to do this more often, mainly as a practice, especially for our VisMin players. So fingers crossed, I'd love for this to keep going, and I hope the reception is as nice coming from everyone. So thank you very much, and this is Mold Breaker, Vince, signing out, and I hope everyone has a fantastic evening ahead.